So my talk this morning is entitled A Wave Away. One of my Sunday afternoon practices, I record CBS Sunday mornings. And so I watch it after I've had my nap on Sunday. And there's always something interesting there. They cover a little bit of current events, but they have an art, they have a human interest, they have a nature. It's a great program. And this past week, they had an amazing story about a young man named Roman. And he's only 4 years old. And Roman started standing out in his front yard waving at people. And he did it not because anyone told him to do it or because he expected anything in return. He simply liked waving at people. He liked greeting people. So he waved to passing cars, he waved to neighbors, he waved to anybody that came by. Now, what people didn't know about Roman was he was carrying a big load of loneliness. His parents had separated. His father had moved to Florida. His grandparents lived far away. And so it was just him and his mom in this new neighborhood. And for a child his age, most of the people he loved were suddenly no longer close to him. But instead of withdrawing, he did something remarkable and simple. He just started going out on the lawn and waving at people. Eventually, one neighbor across the street, a retired guy, realized that this little guy needed some interaction, and so he crossed the street to introduce himself. And soon they began to have play dates and were playing with each other. The one neighbor then became two, and suddenly he had a whole group of retired people, at his soccer games, supporting and encouraging him. They came to his swimming lessons. When he first had to go to preschool, they showed up on his first day of preschool. When his birthday came around, he didn't have a lot of kids his own age. It was a whole house full of retired adults. They will always show up for free cake, trust me. Doesn't take much. And so they just became his adopted grandparents. One reporter said he lived in a neighborhood, but he needed a village. And somehow, through nothing more than kindness, he built one. And I love that story. It really resonates with me because I think it says something profound about the human spirit. We all have a need to belong. We all want to be recognized and seen. We all want to know that we're important to people around us. And we can easily lack that in our lives. It doesn't matter if we're 4 years old or 94. That need remains to be connected. There's an old story about stonecutters. There were 3 stonecutters. A traveling person came upon them, and he asked one, he says, "Well, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I'm cutting stones." He asked the second one, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm earning a living." He asked the third one, what are you doing?" And he says, "I'm building a cathedral. I'm building a cathedral." All 3 were doing the same work, but one had a vision of what he was creating. This is what Roman was doing. He wasn't just waving, he was building a village. He was nurturing a community. And this is where his story becomes spiritual. Most of us believe that life happens to us. We think when people become friendlier, I'll become friendlier. When someone reaches out, I'll reach back. When I feel accepted, I'll open my heart. Roman had every reason to retreat into his loneliness. His dad had left him in a city with his mom. His grandparents were far away. But instead of waiting for love, he chose to become love. He reversed the equation. He became what he hoped to experience. He offered friendship before he had received it. He offered joy before anyone had extended it. He offered a welcome before anyone had welcomed him. And that was the key, that he became what he wanted to envision. And this is a spiritual practice. Ernest Holmes says, love points the way and law makes it possible. He expressed love and life responded. Not overnight, not magically, but steadily. One neighbor became two, two became five, five became a village. And this is how consciousness works. The world reflects what we consistently embody. It doesn't always become what we hope for, what we dream for, what we even pray for, but it will reflect back to us what we believe is true for ourselves. He knew the truth for himself was that he deserved to have this village of people loving and supporting him. Dr. Holmes says, we live in a universe that responds to our thinking. Roman never set out to change his neighbors. He simply became the kind of person he wished to meet. How many of us are willing to step up and step out and become the kind of person that lives in a world of love and joy, of happiness and prosperity? To become the sort of neighbor that is creating a village. When we do, life will respond. Now, before you think this is just a simple, charming story about a sweet boy, let's consider a question. How many people live in neighborhoods without ever living in community? I confess that's been true for me. I've lived in a neighborhood for 14 years, and I hardly knew any of my neighbors. And I always had a great reason. There's always someone else to visit in the hospital. There's always a talk to write. There's always a meeting to go to. There's the newsletter to finish. There was always something important for me to do. There was always an excuse, a reason. And then Shaggy came into my life. Now, Shaggy has to go on walks. His first one is at 4:30 in the morning. And let me tell you, the Swiss have never come up with a clock as accurate as this little furry alarm clock. He does not miss it by a minute or two. And he also assumes that everyone loves him. He just knows it. And he goes out into the world with that attitude, that they all just desperately need to pet him. That is his attitude. And they do. The other day, I was walking him in a neighbor that loves him. She came up to him and she petted him for a little bit. She stood back up and she says, Shaggy, she says, your hair always looks like you've just woken up from a hard night of drinking. I would have argued with her, but A, it's true. And B, Shaggy wasn't offended. Yeah. Shaggy, he's kind of a rough and tumble little guy, but he's got a beautiful soul, and people are drawn to him. You know, I've told you the story many times when I went to look for a little dog. I went to the pound, and my friend who works at the rescue shelter, she was showing me a little dog who was up front, and I saw him in the back. And I thought to myself, he is so ugly that if I don't get him, nobody will. And I got him. And he is a little angel on four paws. When I go to sit down in the morning to have my coffee and turn on the news, I look up and I see these two little paws in midair flying to get to my lap. And he loves nothing more than to spend a half hour getting a belly rub. That's how we want to be. We want to be out in the world, showing our love, showing our truth, getting a belly rub from Spirit with all four paws up in the air. And this is what Spirit is offering us. If we will let go of our negativity, let go of our frustrations, let go and just know the world is waiting for us. There's something wonderfully spiritual about Shaggy's love. We need to love ourselves the way God loves us. And you are so loved by the Creator. Spirit is in awe of you, that you had the courage to come here. It's not an easy place to be. Trust me. It's not an easy life to go through. And if you go through it with a little bit of love, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of kindness, you're doing grand. And Spirit is there to help us every step of the way. We need to stop, worrying about ourselves so much. We need to stop waiting to be accepted. We need to become free to love others, to know the best for others, to see the best for others, to believe the best in others. Loneliness has become an epidemic of our age. And it's remarkable, it's extraordinary that we're so connected electronically, but we're living lives of loneliness more than ever. All of us have gone out to dinner, and you see a group of friends or you see a family, and they're all on their cell phones. Yeah. And I think it is this need to feel at home. There is something very deep within the human spirit that doesn't feel like we have a belonging, that we belong here on earth. And I think it may reflect the ultimate truth that we, as Queen Elizabeth said, we're just passing through. This isn't our home. We're just here for a brief while. Christ understood this. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. And I don't think he was just giving us a moral commandment. I think he was giving us a spiritual truth. And I also think that spiritual teachers kind of turned that around a little bit and put the emphasis on loving the neighbor. But the reality is, until we love ourselves, we can't truly love our neighbors. I think that was how Christ was describing how life works. When we truly love ourselves, when we truly know our value, when we truly know how much we are loved, then we can't help but go out and love those around us. Love, our family, our friends, our neighbors, those that love and support us, those that agree with us, and those that don't love us so much, particularly them, and those that we don't agree with. We can stand back from it all and still give out that love. Love creates relationships, it creates community, it heals isolation, it provides us with a way to move forward. And that's what I love about the community we've created here. And that you instinctively knew how to make this happen. When I came to this community, I came from a huge church in Atlanta, 700 people on Atlanta. But it had an amazing teacher, had great classes, it had all kinds of wonderful things, but it wasn't a community. You could go there and you could walk in and walk out and not have a single person say hello to you. I've heard our community, and I hear it with such pride. I heard somebody say one time, this was a 3-hug minimum community. Yeah. Couldn't come here without getting 3 hugs. When a visitor comes, and that's the reason the bingo game is so successful here. Bingo people are coming here and they feel so loved. You can see it. They feel so happy. And people walk through our front doors before they even introduce themselves. There's people that are acknowledging them, getting to know them, remembering their name, asking them how they're doing. Now, It may just, you think, well, that's just being friendly, but it's more than that. It's letting people know they matter, that they're important, that they have a place where they are welcomed. What we're doing is we're building a village. In today's world, a village is sacred. Years ago, I heard someone say, people may come for the philosophy, but they stay because they find a family. And I believe that's true. People don't just need a better idea. They need a place where they can breathe. They need a place where they don't have to pretend. They need a place where they feel welcome exactly as they are. And that's what every spiritual community should become. So my challenge is to become like Roman, to wave first, even when I got a lot of stuff to tend to smile first, to introduce myself first, to forgive first. That one I've got to really work on. To encourage first, to invite first, to pray first, to love first. Don't wait for the world to become friendlier. Help create the world you're praying for. Now, I love how Roman's story ends. One of his neighbors said, if the whole world were like this child, what an awesome place it would be. And I think he's right. And maybe we've misunderstood the spiritual lesson. The point isn't that we should all become children, even though Christ said something very similar, like you have to become like a child to inherit the kingdom of heaven. Maybe the point is to recover something we knew as children, that people are not strangers until we decide they are, that every smile is an invitation, every greeting is an opening. Every act of kindness plants a sacred seed, and every seed carries the possibility of a village. So perhaps heaven isn't that far away. Perhaps we don't have to wait until we're saved, till we're enlightened, till we die. Perhaps heaven is right here and right now. Perhaps it's in our hearts and souls. Perhaps it is waiting to break through, to burst through all of our turmoil, our anger and frustration. Perhaps it is waiting to unfold before our very eyes. Perhaps heaven is only one wave away. And we can do this. We can make it happen. We can witness the glory of God made manifest through our love, our joy, our compassion, and kindness. It's the very essence of who we are and who we're becoming. It's the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Come on up.